Why you ran from me, dude?
I have a little bit of access.
The reason I was stopping you is because you fit the description of somebody.
I'm just being
What's your name?
We're at the side of
Charles?
what's his name?
Russian only.
I mean, that's
Be
the first.
careful. Everybody's recording. Don't say anything they say what you're saying.
That's the wrong guy y'all chasing.
I didn't
Y'all
even-
looking for what the dread went that way.
This is a Shields of Shame exclusive.
Meet shamed ex-cop from the Savannah, Georgia Police Department, Luis Manuel Esquina. Luis was fired and decertified in the state of Georgia for being deceptive in an internal investigation. Our story began with Luis being questioned by a supervisor about a police-ordered doctor's visit that he was supposed to attend earlier in the day for his recent on-the-job injury. Esquina filed a workman's comp claim and wanted hospital staff to lie to police and tell them he was there when he wasn't earlier in the day. Now we move on to the body cam where Luis claims he was injured while he was taking down the wrong suspect and somehow got an innocent man arrested for living. You have heard the lies and seen the complete ignorance and lack of any formal training, but worse than that, he is a liar and belongs on the Shields of Shame wall of shamed cops. Now we arrive at the conclusion, the Georgia Post Council interview where all bonds, relationships, friendships, good old buddy system, and blue line are far removed. The Georgia Post Council does not protect bad cops like the individual agencies will. Listen as he squirms and wiggles. Thank you for your continued support. This is a very long interview, so some footage that is overlaid will repeat. This is an audio-only interview.
Do I now? I mean, this is a supervisor talking to a subordinate. There's no off the record. So. Will I get in trouble for that? Listen to me. We have a process we have to follow. We're following that process, and you know, I don't know. All right. And like I told you before, when we've had previous conversations, if we do things on the up and up, there's nothing to worry about.
Today is August 27th, 2021. This is Investigator Newsom with Georgia Post Council. And today I'm on the phone with Luis Esquina. This will be an interview with Mr. Esquina in reference to his case involving his separation from the Savannah Police Department. Sir, if you could just please state your name for me and then just confirm that you are aware this interview is being recorded.
I'm aware that this interview is being recorded. My name is Luis Esquina. Former badge number is 63510 from the Savannah Police Department.
Okay, and I've already we were talking briefly before we started the interview, and I kind of talked you through how the post-investigative process works as far as the investigative process, and then the additional steps that you'll go through to get your case resolved. And so we're kind of to the point now where we had just started talking about the actual incident that kind of led us to where we are. And I'm just going to let you start and tell the story about what happened from the time that you got injured forward to the end of being separated from Savannah.
Okay, so the initial cause of everything doesn't start at my injury. It started when I rejoined the Savannah Police Department the year March 2020. I was put at the Northwest Precinct. First day that I arrived back at the precinct, I arrived at the precinct and Officer John Doris had come up to my vehicle and asked me, why would I come back here? And I told him, I said, what are you talking about? And he said, dude, nobody wanted you back here. I was like, man, I'm not here for anybody. I'm here to do my job. That's it. That situation right there was dead. While we were on patrol, a few weeks later, I applied for overtime to do theater, which is at downtown Savannah. And I went to the precinct, as I do every single day, got my camera and put it on my chest. Went to Sergeant Lupus's office, and I forgot the other sergeant's name that's on that shift. I said, sir, I'm gonna do theater. I'm doing theater from 1800. I'm sorry. I'm so used to using regular time.
Sure, that's fine. That's fine.
From 1800 hours until I think it was 2 in the morning. He said, okay. I said, can I take a vehicle, sir? He's like, no, you may not. I said, but sir, everybody else is in their vehicle. Don't worry about anybody else. Take your own personal patrol car. Now,
what is this detail that you're talking about, deer? What is that?
Theater There is something that you do overnight. I believe it's for like the movies and things like that. You go on a website, all police officers go on this website and they apply for the overtime and they get it. It's what you do for some extra money.
Okay. So that's just an acronym for some overtime work, like a special duty assignments that officer works.
Yes.
Okay.
So I took my own personal car. I took my Ford Fusion. I parked it downtown. It was about 11 at night, and Corporal McGruger, who was in the K9 unit, had stopped. And she asks me, why are you on foot by yourself at 11:30 at night? I'm just like, because Sergeant Lupus and the sergeant from the other shift, who his name I forgot, but if you guys go into your record, you can see who it is. He told me to do foot patrol. He said, this is not safe. You are out here by yourself. He told me to go back to the precinct and get a vehicle at approximately 1 in the morning because I was talking to her for a good hour and a half. And I did. And I told the sergeant that Corporal McGruger told me that it's very dangerous for me to be on foot by myself with no partners and to get a vehicle. He gave me the vehicle to the end of my shift. I then went into the captain's office a few days afterwards. I'd spoken with my wife. I'm just like, hey, listen, I'm not being treated fairly here. I want to change precincts. My wife told me to not change precincts. I spoke with the captain. He said, are you sure this is what you want to do? I said, yes, sir. This is what I want to do. I just want a fresh start. I don't want no problems. I switched over to the East Side precinct, which is where Captain Gundich was. I made a meeting with him. He said, I want an officer like you. You have a good record. You don't have no citizens complaints. You don't have anything like that on your record. We would welcome you here with open arms. I said, thank you, sir. I started the next week there at the East Side precinct. A memo came out in the email, and I was assigned to Sergeant Smith and Petite shift. Upon coming into the precinct that day, Sergeant Smith says that I remind him of his dead fallen officer who was killed while sleeping with his fiancée by his son-in-law. He says, you remind me of Corporal so-and-so. And I look at him and I'm just like, okay, no problem, I guess that was a very inappropriate comment. A lot of people stayed looking at him for that comment, but whatever. Everything was going okay in the shift. They told me that they expect truthfulness out of me to execute my job duties the right way. I said, okay, sir, no problem. It started with this incident on the street with a vehicle accident that I had reported. I took the report down for it. After taking the report down for it, I get called into the sergeant's office. He's just like, why would you let the individual that got into an accident go? He didn't have a driver's license. I said, sir, I put it in the report. Everything was detailed. The individual's wife came, who was the owner of the vehicle, presented a valid driver's license. There was no injuries reported. So that's the reason I let them go. Did you give him a ticket? Yes, I did give him a ticket, sir, for following too closely and improper lane change, I believe it was. Okay. Then, after that, I stopped 4 juveniles in the vehicle. I had spoken with the juveniles. I asked them, do you guys have a license and registration? They didn't have a tag on the vehicle. This was during COVID. And he said, sir, I just bought the car for my disabled father, and I'm here picking it up. I said, do you have a driver's license? He said, no, I have a permit, I believe it was. He showed me everything. I'm just like, you're supposed to be in the vehicle with somebody. He said, my mom lives in Liberty County, and my dad is not too far. He lives, I believe, in Yamacraw Village. I don't really remember. I said, okay. So another officer came to aid me, and I said over the air, I will be following this vehicle 2 blocks, 3 blocks down, just so they can park on the curb, because I didn't want to leave this vehicle in the alley. I get a call from my supervisor yelling at me. And I was just like, okay, sir, no problem. I just made sure that they moved it out of the alley right there. They parked it right there on the neighbor's street, and that was that. I get called into the office again, and I'm getting yelled at. And I'm just like, sir, with all due respect, you don't have to yell at me for me to understand you. Every time that I'm here, I'm in your office, and you're here yelling at me and doing all this other extra stuff. I'm not here for that, sir. That's exactly how it went. His voice got even louder. He went into the lieutenant's office, Lieutenant Baby, And I told Lieutenant Bailey, hey, listen, I'm not going to be taking this. I'm a grown man. I know what I have to do, and I don't appreciate supervisors telling me that they want me to be like another officer. I am me. I am Luis Esquina. I am a police officer the way I was trained to be. I don't have to be like Officer Bartolini for me to be a good police officer. She said, okay, if you don't hear back from me, that means I handled the situation. She handled it. Nothing else was said to me. I then get this report that I had to hand in at the end of the shift. There was a criminal trespass form. I filled it out during my shift, and Sergeant Smith had told me to put it in a Lieutenant Lewis's box. I didn't know where Lieutenant Lewis's box were, so I asked another employee, and they told me to leave it at inside this crate where we put all paperwork from the shift that gets seen by the lieutenant eventually. And I come the next day in on my tour, and when I get there, I get yelled at in front of all staff. Why did you put this paperwork here? God damn it! This, and that. I'm just like, I stood frozen. I didn't know what to say. I have all the other police officers looking at me here. I'm being embarrassed in front of everybody. I'm just like, I don't know how long this is going to continue. So I go to Sergeant Lewis's office, and I say, Sarge, I want to fill out a grievance because I am not being treated correctly by either of these supervisors. I said, I don't know what I've done to them, but I can't work like this. He said, I'm going to talk to them. You don't need to file a grievance report. I said, I do want to fill out the grievance. He said, I'll get the grievance to you. No grievance report was ever given to me. Fast forward now, nothing else happened. I responded to a domestic. It was with officer staff that I responded to. Apparently, the individual was wearing white and I believe blue pants or black. It's been a year now. But we went to the residence, and she said her boyfriend was wearing this description with dreads, and he's not at the home. Apparently, they got into a domestic physical altercation. I said, okay. Everything was recorded on my BWC. I went to my vehicle. I did a few circles around the neighborhood, and I saw a gentleman fit in the description, or an individual fit in the description of the suspect that I was looking for. I stopped, I rode by next to him. I said, sir, could you do me a favor? Could you please stop? I got to ask you a few questions. He took off running. I said on camera, oh, here we go. I got out of my car. I ran after him. My phone fell out of my pocket. I ran after the individual. He tripped on the curb. When he tripped on the curb, I went down on my knee. And I believe on camera, I said, damn, my knee.
Come around the back. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Put your hands behind your back. Okay. Put your hands behind your back.
I handcuffed him and everything. I was giving out radio traffic, but I didn't know where I was because there was a new area in the precinct. Backup had finally arrived. The first thing that everybody was asking me was, did you use force? I said, no, I did not. I had at least like 3 or 4 cops asking me that. Then the corporal came. Did you use force? I was like, no, I did not. I said he tripped on the curb or the median, whichever one I said. Next thing you know, the corporal's there, and I'm talking to the individual, and I'm about to ask the individual, hey, dude, why did you run from me? And it wasn't until he got up that I think it was Officer Scaff found a large amount of ecstasy in the individual's pocket. And I was just like, okay. The corporal tells me, hey, watch what you say. Don't curse at the suspect. And I look at her and I'm just like, okay, like nobody's gonna do that. I'm not unprofessional. I don't take the job personal. That's how I was when I was working for that department. I see Sergeant Smith, my camera's still on. I noticed that the corporal went to him to talk 3 blocks down. I call Sergeant Smith, everything is recorded on my body camera. And I asked him, I was just like, sir, what should I charge this man with? Oh, now you want to call me? Why are you calling me now? You didn't call me when you got this situation. He said, whenever you take him to jail and you come back, we'll talk. I was like, okay, no problem. After that, I get to the precinct. He says, Esquina, do me a favor. Can you start a case file and fill out your injury report? Now, Investigator William, I have filled out injury reports for the Savannah Police Department numerous amount of times, 1 or 2 times, and I have never had a problem with any of my supervisors filling it out. I started the case file with Officer Scott. I haven't been on the job for a year, and I forgot how to do all of that. So Officer Scott was guiding me through it, and at around 18:30, which was time for me to go home, I went home and forgot to fill out the injury report. Now that's one thing that I forgot to say, that I forgot to mention because I'm going so fast, is when he was on the scene, after I spoke with the sergeant, I told him, I said, as of right now, I'm not hurt, but if I am, I will let you know. That's exactly what I said, just so we can have that on the record, because I did say that. I believe the cameras were rolling as well. I got to the precinct, like I was saying, I filled out the case information for the case management, case thing for the individual, and then I left at 18:30. I got home, my knee started bothering me. I guess it was the adrenaline, and I wasn't really sitting still. So I called out for the next shift, I believe it was, and I told them that my knee was bothering me. A supervisor from the other shift picked up the phone. He said, "Did you do your injury report?" I was like, "That's what I forgot to do. I apologize, Sarge. When I get back, I'll do it, or if you want me to bring it in now, sir, I will do it now." He said, "No, don't worry about it. Bring it in when you want to, whenever you come in." I was like, "Okay." So I go to work the day after I took off, and I'm limping. And officers are telling me, "Dude, you shouldn't be working if you're limping." I'm just like, "Man, I'm just trying to get to the shift." I didn't really complain at all. I didn't do any of that. I just did my job. Mind you, I'm in a Ford Taurus. I barely fit in that car. My knees are cramped up in there. I get off shift, whatever. I do everything that I have to do. I put my camera back. I get out of the precinct. I go home. I couldn't take the pain anymore, so I called out again. And when I call out, I tell the supervisor, which is what I just spent at the time, I said, "Sir, I can't come in." I said, "I'm not feeling well." He's like, "Okay, why are you not coming in?" I explained to him. And from there, it started going downhill. Individual, I call him again, who is Sergeant Smith. And he's just like, "Why do you keep calling out? Did you go to the hospital?" I'm just like, "Sir, I did go to the hospital." Now, this is where it gets tricky. And I told him that I did go to the hospital, but I did not go to the hospital. The reason I said I did not go to the hospital was because I spoke with my wife's doctor on the phone, who is named Dr. Ododo. Now, I could have provided them the proof if they would have asked for it. No problem. I just didn't want to go to the hospital during COVID. I did not. My wife has asthma issues with her lungs, and she cannot be exposed to that. So I didn't go. So he calls me back. He's just like, "You said you went to the doctor, right? You, the doctors know." So I'm just like, here we go. I called City MD. No, sorry, it's not City MD. It's St. Joseph Urgent Care. I called St. Joseph's Urgent Care. Once I called St. Joseph's Urgent Care, I speak to the doctor for a few minutes or so, like that, I believe it was, or the PA. And I explained to them my situation, and they told me over the phone, "You sound like you have a knee contusion. You need to be elevated," and etc. So I got to the doctor, and they checked me out. It was a knee contusion. My knee was cracking, and she told me that you cannot work for a week. I was like, "Okay, no problem." My appointment finished, and I had noticed that Sergeant Petit had been outside with his body camera. He comes up to me and he asks, "Esquina, did you come to the hospital?" I told him yes. And then I changed up and I said no. I said that I was in the parking lot, and then that I was sitting in the parking lot. I was just like, "Sir, am I going to get an OPS for this?" He's just like, "Why would you get an OPS? Are you lying?" And I told him, "I'm not lying. I did go to the hospital. Even if it was over the phone, I did go to the hospital." So he went inside to the medical office and he started speaking to everybody. He spoke to whoever he had to speak to. They gave him the information they had to give him, which is what I don't know.
I'm sorry. I know you guys are getting ready to close it on, but did he come up here earlier today?
Because I know because he spoke with the nurse in the room and wanted us to lie and say that he was.
And I had left. At that point in time, I already knew that they were trying to get me for something, and it wasn't the use of force. They were just trying to do something to me. And this is the reason I wanted to fill out a grievance because of this, because I was being tag teamed by two supervisors that did not like me for some whatever reason. I had never met these two in my life, and that's it. I come back to work. I get called. I don't even get called into the office. I get embarrassed over the air. They say, Officer Esquina, we need you to report to the performance and professionalism standards building. And I said, for what? It's like, okay. I said, okay, 10-4. I'm asking myself, what is this for now? So I get in there, I go to Internal Affairs, and Internal Affairs Sergeant Smith, he starts asking me a series of questions. And I ask him, what is this for? He said, you are being investigated for, you are under an IA investigation of the Savannah Police Department, and that's it. He tells me, did you lie about this, and that? And I explained to him while being recorded, sir, I didn't lie about going to the hospital. He said, yes, but you said you were in the parking lot. You were not in the parking lot. You said you were in the office. I said, sir, these supervisors have been trying to come at me for the longest now. And I did go to the hospital. Now that I did not go to that urgent care, I'm sorry. He said, you asked a nurse to lie for you. I said, I did not ask a nurse to lie for me. I told her, can you switch the time to when I spoke to you on the phone? And she told me she could not do that. So I don't understand how that is lying. And he said, it's lying in the police department. I said, okay. Nonetheless, I leave the Internal Affairs building. I go back to patrol. I have my days off. When I come back, I get called back in there, and I notice this time that I have the lieutenant. I have Lieutenant Lewis and Sergeant Petite there. They walk me into the Internal Affairs building, and they take my gun and my badge away. They take my entire duty belt. And I'm not ever told at whatever point, and you can see this in your recording, what I am being investigated for, what are the charges against me. I don't get anything. I didn't even know that I could use my PBA at the time. Next thing you know, we're walking outside the building, and Lieutenant Lewis and Sergeant Petite are making jokes. Hey, you remember this time? I turned around and I told Sergeant Petite in his face, I'm just like, hey, do you think this is funny right now? You guys are really coming after my job? Lieutenant Lewis is just like, hey, Esquina, just be quiet so you don't lose your post certification. Don't make things worse for you. I'm just like, lose my certification for what? I didn't do anything. I didn't shoot anybody. I didn't kill anybody. I didn't violate anybody's rights. You guys are treating me like a criminal. So we get back to the precinct. I don't even get a chance to change my clothes. I'm walking into the precinct with none of my equipment on, nothing at all. All the officers are looking at me. I was made an example of, and I finally understand that now. Walk in the precinct. They told me, you need to finish your report from your car accident. I'm just like, you guys just suspended me or did whatever you did, and you want me to finish a report for you now? I said, I don't remember anything. I don't have the mindset for this right now. I don't want to do this report because I'm not thinking straight. Well, you got to finish it. We're going to put you in this room and you're going to finish it. I finished the report, and then I went to Captain Gundich's office. Captain Gundich, and I quote in his own words in front of Lieutenant Lewis, if anybody tells you that they did not say that, they are lying. I said, I'm suspended for this. He said, I can't answer any questions, Esquina. I'm just like, am I going to have an opportunity to defend myself in front of the board? Yes, you will. And I quote, yes, you will. I said, okay, that's fine. I got suspended from, I believe it was 2 weeks before May ended until June 3rd. So I got suspended, sir, and I waited home. On June 2nd, I called them back. When I called them back, I spoke with Internal Affairs Sergeant Smith, and I asked him, sir, I haven't received a call to defend myself on the oral board. He's just like, oh, you will not be defending yourself. I'm just like, what do you mean? Captain Gundich told me, and I quote, that I would have the opportunity to defend yourself. He's like, it's not what he says, it's what I say that goes, and it's what the department says that goes. I'm just like, that's not right. You guys told me one thing, and now you're telling me something else. And he's just like, Esquina, I'm not going to talk about this with you anymore. I will give you a call back tomorrow after your board is concluded. I said, okay. I get a call around 10 in the morning. And this is Sergeant Smith from the Internal Affairs Bureau for the Savannah Police Department. Am I speaking with Luis Esquina? Just like, yes, sir. As of today, your employment with the city of Savannah has been terminated. And I tell him, he's like, what do you mean my employment has been terminated? He's like, as of no longer, you cannot work for the city of Savannah. I'm just like, sir, I didn't even get a chance to defend myself, and you guys did not even give me a fair trial. That's exactly what I said. I said I didn't even know how I could use my PBA. He said, Luis, I need you to come in today by 1 p.m. and I need you to come give me your second badge. So I'm just like, okay. So at this point, I go in. It's 1 o'clock. I go in. I bring my second badge, and now I have two internal affairs supervisors there. Smith and another gentleman that I don't know his name. They sit down. I tell them I have a couple questions. They sit down with me at the table. Told me to sit down actually. And I was like, you guys just terminated me, and I don't even know what for. You guys didn't even let me know my charges that I was being terminated for. Now I have family in the department, not in the Savannah Police Department, but around the United States. I have family in the department. So when you were being investigated, you were supposed to be told what you're being investigated for. And you were supposed to be afforded the right to a fair trial for yourself as a police officer to defend your job. So he tells me, you have been terminated for untruthfulness, insubordination, conduct, unbecoming. I was like, insubordination? For what? He's like, that paper that you didn't sign. I'm just like, sir, how was that insubordination if I told them I forgot and they said it was okay? I'm getting hit with charges for one reason. He's like, untruthfulness for asking the nurse to lie. I said, I didn't ask anybody to lie for me. I said, I haven't even lied on the job to you guys. I told the oath of this office to a T. I have never lied. I come here professionally every single day, and this is how I get. So he's like, you have to bring your uniform in. And I'm talking to you in the same tone that I was talking to him. He said, you have to bring your uniform in. He said, bring your uniform in Friday. I said, sir, can I just bring it in today? I don't want to deal with this department anymore. I just don't. I said, I'm going to bring it in today, I told him again. I said, I'm going to bring it in today, so I just don't want to deal with this. This is just way too much for me. Oh, so you're telling me that you're not going to bring the uniform when I tell you to bring it? Do you want me to add a criminal charge to you for that? And I wish I was recording this. Do you want me to add a criminal charge to me? I said, oh, so now I'm a criminal, that I am not a cop anymore. Okay. I brought them the uniform Friday. They had somebody surveillancing me to make sure that I was there bringing in all their equipment. I gave them everything, and I'm getting looked at like if I'm the worst person in the world. I then go to the chief's office because I had to go fill out some paperwork before I left. And I actually sit down with Roy Finzer. And I tell him, I was like, sir, you tell me. He's like, Luis, what did it for me was the lying to the nurse. I said, sir, I didn't lie to anybody. And he tells me, I can't let you be in the department anymore. And I'm like, sir, can I ever be a cop again after this? He's just like, that's none of my concern and that's none of my business. Esquina. I'm just like, I look at him and I say, okay. So then, before he got up from the chair, we're still talking. And I was just like, okay, sir. So you guys just terminated me for this. But what about Adrian Gates, who was an affiliated gang member with the Savannah Police Department? And it was all over the news, and he still has a job. And you're terminating me for this? I'm not at liberty to discuss another person's case. I said, yeah, you're not at liberty to discuss another person's file. You're severely terminating somebody for something that wasn't even a fraction of what your other officer did, which was inform gangs of police raid. And I'm not a cop anymore? I said, sir, that's the most unprofessional thing I've ever heard of in any police department. And the favoritism in this police department is out of this world, I told him. He said, all right, Luis, that's enough. You can get out of my office now. And I left the office. I then received paperwork from records, which was my internal affairs investigation. And this is where it gets even better. Why is the man that got me into all of this even sitting in oral board? Why are the supervisors that I went to file a grievance, Beatty and Lewis, Why are they on the overboard making a decision for me to get terminated, a suggestion for me to get terminated? Why wasn't I given anything fair? Why weren't there any other supervisors from the department just sitting on that board making a decision for me? Why did it have to be the same people that got me into the situation that I got myself into to even put a vote to terminate me? That's not right. That's not fair. You're giving supervisors from that precinct now the authority to fire officers after they're the ones doing the investigation toward that officer? That's very unprofessional. That's not ethical at all. That's called a jam job. I knew that I wasn't wanted there from the first day that I got back, but I never had a problem in that police department. I never had any disciplinary actions from any supervisor saying that I behaved bad on the street, that I didn't do my job. I didn't have any type of complaints at all. Nothing. And for me to get terminated for something like that investigator William, that broke me. It broke me to the point where I went into a depression. And I cried myself to sleep every night. Because I knew that somebody that wasn't worthy of being a cop, and his name is Adrian Gates, is still a police officer, and I'm not. I would run into a burning building to save a kid's life. I don't have an issue doing that. I would take a bullet for a pedestrian I don't even know. But for me to get terminated for something like that and lose my entire career, it wasn't even just the Savannah Police Department. No. It was everything. I lost my home. I lost my credit. I lost my car. Why? Because I got terminated during a pandemic and I couldn't even find a job at Walmart to provide for my family. Last year was the hardest year of my life. And the same year, this year, that I was terminated in June, my father goes into a coma and my father still hasn't woken up. These 2 years have been hell for me. And it doesn't end.
Well, I'm gonna go back through some questions with you over some things that you talked about. Did the termination with the separation from Savannah? Did you file an appeal in reference to your separation with Human Resources or anything there?
I wasn't offered any of that. I was just terminated.
So you never made any attempt to contact like Human Resources or anything to file an appeal?
I did. I called Human Resources a few times. I made contact with the police. I forgot what her name was, but she spoke to me. She will remember me if you guys give her a call. And I told her that I was wrongfully terminated. And I explained to her the situation just how I explained it to you. She said, I will get back to you after I speak with them and this, and that. And I said, okay, no problem. She got back to me. There's nothing I could do. That's exactly how it went. That is exactly how my whole process went.
Okay.
From start.
I'm gonna go through some questions. So, going back to when this, and I understand I'm gonna go back now, close to a year from when all this first started. So if you don't remember anything, please don't hesitate to tell me that you don't remember. Like I told you earlier, my memory is horrible and sometimes I can't recall. But when all this took place, were you prescribed any sort of medication by any doctor for the injury?
I believe so. I just don't remember what it was.
Was it any sort of controlled substance or anything like that?
No.
Okay, so it was mainly just something for pain, probably like ibuprofen or something like that. Not asking you to guess or anything. Okay, but no prescription meds or controlled substance.
No, sir.
Okay. And just for clarification, did you tell at any point in time, and you kind of touched base on this, that you had been to a doctor's office or a medical facility to seek treatment when in fact you had not? Did you ever do that?
Yes, and the reason I did that was because I thought that just speaking over the phone with a doctor, which was the current trend at the time because of the COVID-19 pandemic, doctors were taking appointments over the phone with their clients and video chat.
Okay, and now did you have a video chat with this doctor? And I think, was it a Dr. Adodo, I think is how you pronounced his name?
Yes.
So it was just a phone call that you called him?
Yeah, it was a phone call. They told me, and I believe this is on the report as well. They told me she told me to elevate my foot and take ibuprofen and to just rest it, which is the same thing that they told me when I went into the urgent care.
But now, did you call him on your personal phone or your wife's phone, or how did you get in touch with this doctor?
Oh, my wife was talking with her on the phone, and she took about like half an hour to talk to me about what was going on with my knee, and she told me what to do, and I was just like, this is what's going on. I got hurt. I banged it on the concrete floor. She told me to take some ibuprofen, elevate it. If there's anything else that you need to know about your injury, you might want to end up going to the hospital, eventually to the ER, if your knee is not bending the right way or if you just can't walk.
Okay.
So I told her I was fine. I was just going to take the ibuprofen, and that was it.
Okay. And just for clarification, did you ask any of the personnel, and I think this clinic was at the St. Joseph's Candler Emergent Care, did you ask any of that personnel to say that you had been in that clinic earlier in the day?
I told I forgot her name too, but I told the PA, I believe it was, I said, is it possible for you to switch the time that I got here, so I don't get in trouble with my supervisor, because I did speak on the phone earlier? And she said, no, I can't do that. So I was like, okay, I didn't lie. I didn't ask her to lie for me. But
you don't think that asking somebody to annotate a time as being earlier than what it legitimately was is untruthful?
No, because what I meant by that was to just put the time that I was talking to you guys on the phone. It only took me a few minutes to get there. To just add it on to my appointment when I got there. That's what I meant by that. I didn't ask anybody to lie for me. Now, if the question was taken out of context, that's not my fault. I didn't tell her, listen, I need you to change the time, and this. I didn't tell her that. I said...
Well, but now let me ask you this. So, at the time that you did that, and what has been reported to me is that when you're having this conversation with this individual at the clinic, and I believe it's during the time that they're triaging you in, the doctor or the healthcare provider, as they refer to them, comes into the room, and this person explains to the healthcare provider what you are asking them to do. You didn't clarify that, or you didn't say, hey, no, that's not what I'm asking you to do. I'm not asking you to say, I was here earlier. I'm asking you just to annotate what time I called.
I did not. See, this is how you know I'm being truthful. I did not make it clear. I said it exactly how I explained it to you.
Okay.
I didn't make it clear. Now, should I have made myself clear? Yes, I should have made myself clear, but I did not make myself clear because I wasn't trying to lie. I just said I was talking to you guys on the phone earlier. Can you guys change the time so I don't get in trouble for my supervisor? That's exactly how I said it. And I'll keep saying that till the day I die. Okay. Because that is the truth. Now, if it was taken out of context by the Savannah Police Department and the healthcare provider, I would never ask anybody to lie. No. I've already been in that position before, in the police department, and I've never asked anybody to lie for me.
All right, let me ask you this. When you did go to the clinic, your supervisor comes to the clinic and y'all have a conversation out in the parking lot there.
Yes.
And he asked you if you had been to the clinic earlier, and you initially said, I came here earlier and sat down. Is your initial comment to him?
Now that from my...
Hold on, let me finish. And then he asked for some clarity and follows that up just to get confirmation, and you initially kind of use your hands to kind of point, because there's a body camera footage of it, that you were parked right here, and he said you were here, and then you say, well, no, I was actually, and you kind of reference over to another parking lot and told him that you had gone to that lot and sat there and thought about coming in, but did not.
Okay, so what initially happened was I told him all of that, yes. I was in the Publix parking lot.
So you actually did go to the Publix parking lot, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
I was in the Publix parking lot.
But if you drove that far to the clinic, why did you not just go on into the clinic?
Because I knew that I was going to get put on desk duty if I did.
But now you're making an assumption you're going to get put on desk duty, but you didn't know definitively what was going to happen without getting. But even if so, I mean, at some point in time in this line of work, you're subject to be injured and may have to be on desk duty. And actually, what it does is you're still able to serve the public that you have this calling to serve, but you're doing it at a safe environment until you can till your body can heal.
So being on desk duty was because I just got him back, and I'm already hurt. That's the reason, and I told him this. It wasn't anything against anything. I just didn't want to be behind the desk because I had just gotten back, and I told myself, damn, you already got hurt. I haven't even been here for 2 months, and you're already chasing people and getting hurt. That's exactly what I told myself.
Well, let me ask you this. During that same conversation, you ask your supervisor if you're going to get an ops number for this thing, and basically what you're asking is if there's going to be an internal affairs investigation. And he tells you, no, there's no reason for you to be concerned about it. But if there's something that we need to talk about, and you need to tell me, that now's the time to do it. Paraphrasing what he said, but he gives you an opportunity to kind of clarify things and make sure that everything's on the up and up at that point in time. Why didn't you clarify all of that at that time?
Because I didn't know what that question meant at the time.
Okay.
I replayed this scenario 100 times in my head, and if I could go back in time and just tell him, I would.
All right, let me ask you this. In that same conversation, he goes to get in his patrol car, and you're actually going to get in your car, and then you approach him or call him back over, and you ask him if y'all can talk off the record. And of course he says, I'm a supervisor, we can't do that. What was your intention, or what conversation did you want to have with him off the record in that parking lot?
I was honestly just going to ask him, am I in any trouble for this?
But why would you have to go off the record to ask him that question?
Because everything personally beyond that point, I didn't think that anything that I had to ask him that was personal like that should be on the record. I didn't mean to lie or anything like that. I wasn't going to ask him to lie for me. I was already accused of asking the nurse to lie for me. So why would I ask him that? I just wanted to ask him, what am I going to be in trouble for this, sir? And what should I do to prepare if I am going to get in trouble for this? That's exactly what I was going to ask him. I wasn't going to ask him anything else. Okay.
So let me ask you, replaying, and you said you've replayed this situation in your mind a bunch of times. Do you feel in any way, shape, or form throughout the duration of this situation, from the time you were injured through the very end of your separation, do you feel at any point in time you were untruthful or dishonest with any of your supervisors or your subordinates or anything or people that at the medical clinic? Do you feel you were untruthful with it?
For me saying that I went to the hospital, I was untruthful.
Okay.
But at no point in time did I mean anything or implied for the healthcare provider to lie for me. That's not what I meant. Now, it was taken out of context. I'm sorry, but I didn't want her to lie for me. I would never ask anyone to lie for me. I never lied a day since I was in the police department. I got a citation going 93 miles an hour, and I immediately went and told my supervisors what happened. I had no reason to lie.
Well, and I will tell you, sir, as long as I've been doing this, it's the craziest thing that oftentimes the thing that gets people in this line of work in most trouble is when they are not honest about something that's occurred. Many times it's things that would have never got them in any trouble, but they're dishonest about when they talk to their supervisors about it, and that's what gets them in trouble. In the interview with Internal Affairs, you were upset about your supervisor going to the facility and asking if you had been treated, and seemed pretty upset about that. If they are not seeking any information about your medical treatment or your health condition, what is wrong with the supervisor following up just to ensure that you were in fact where you were when you claimed to be there?
No, my initial thing was my records being released. Anything like that, I told them, aren't I supposed to be protected by something? I don't want any of my stuff to get released. If I'm hurt, I'm hurt. If I'm not hurt, I'm not hurt. It says it on the note.
Now, and I understand it. Of course, you actually provided him with more medical information than the medical staff did. All he ever did was confirm if you had or had not been there earlier in the day.
At the time.
Okay. just and you did a good job of filling in everything and then we talked about. But I've got a few follow-up questions that I typically ask. These are some questions that I typically ask everybody that I interview, and they're as you have reflected on this situation and you've had some time to do that. What could you have done differently, and how this whole situation was handled?
Not speak to my wife's doctor on the phone and just go to the doctor and let them know that I was really severely hurt.
Sure. Since this has taken place, have you taken any measures to ensure counsel that you won't do anything like this in the future? What I mean by that is, sometimes if an officer has been accused of untruthfulness or something along those lines, they will take sometimes they'll go online and take ethics training or things along those lines or whatever. But has there been anything or any actions? Have you taken any training or any courses, or have you done anything to ensure counsel that you will not do this again or anything similar to this in the future if they don't sanction you in any way?
Well, I can't tell you what I would do a year ago because I wouldn't know. Ever since all of this has happened, the only thing that I've actually really done is turn to God, read my Bible every single day, and go to church.
Okay.
I didn't do any of that before.
Okay.
Now I do.
All right.
I want to me lying and things like that about my job duties for the council to know. I love being a police officer.
Okay.
That's all I've ever wanted to do. I will never lie about my job duties, and I made a mistake one time in my life, and at one time it cost me everything that I had.
All right.
If I were put in that situation that I had in the past, now would I do any of that? No, I would just have been up front right away and say that I was hurt. I was embarrassed to be on desk duty because that's how new cops are. They're embarrassed of it. They just start the job all over again and you're already hurt. That was my mind process back then. But now, if I'm hurt, I'm hurt, and there's nothing that I can do about it. I'd rather have my job than be out of the job.
Well, and I will tell you, and this is kind of the analogy that or kind of the way I explain this. The most important tool or weapon that you have when you walk the streets or when you walk out that door every day to do your job as a law enforcement officer is your integrity. While your gun and your knife or your tactical weapons will protect you physically, the most important weapon that you have in your arsenal is going to be your integrity. And anytime that you jeopardize that integrity, it really diminishes your ability to operate in any capacity in law enforcement. And what I mean by that is, if the bad guys aren't threatened by your integrity, then it's difficult for you to testify in court. District attorney's offices cannot use you to prosecute cases just because of some case law, and so it becomes an issue. And so that's why it's always so crucial and important for officers to be honest and truthful about things 100% of the time, no matter how big or how small things should be. So let's just say I've got a magic wand. I've just waved the magic wand, and you are now a member of post counsel. If you were presented the facts of this case as you know them, what sanction, if any, do you think that would you recommend as a member of council?
If it were me and I was on council, I would recommend probation. Okay. Especially if the officer has never had a disciplinary record before and any issues with civilians and executed his job or her job to the best of their ability. That's what I would do. Okay.
I always like to ask that, just to give everybody an opportunity to give their input. You did a real good job of going through all the details of the case and of everything that took place. Is there anything that I have not asked you that you feel is important for counsel to know about you and about this situation?
What I would just want them to know is that I was having issues with these supervisors ever since I got on that shift, and I never had issues with any supervisors. I wasn't, even before that situation happened, I wasn't trusted to do my job effectively. I always had, whether it was an officer or a corporal, looking at everything that I did, I just wasn't trusted before all of this. And when I tried to let it be known, when I tried to let the situation be known to higher ups, because I couldn't let the sergeants know, I just got dismissed. And it's not right that what happened to me, sir, and I can't change it. It doesn't matter how much I replay it in my head, it doesn't matter how much I dream about it, I can't replace it. Does it still haunt me to this day? Am I going to sit here and lie to you? Absolutely not, it does. I think about it every single day, what it would be like if I was still a police officer. Would I be a detective right now? Would I be in the run for a canine? I think about it every single day. Now, was my situation that I was put in bad? Yes. But there are worse, that other officers are still walking these streets and generally do not care about the public and are just doing whatever they want. I genuinely care about my job. I didn't care about a gun. I didn't care about a badge. I just cared about helping the next person, and from there moving on to the next and to the next and to the next. I made an impact on my community when I worked there. Can most of the officers in that state say that? Can most officers say that they actually got out of their vehicle in a dangerous neighborhood and try to make conversations with these individuals on the street to get to know them better? A lot of people can't tell you that. And when you're investigating a police officer, it's not fair to put people that have already investigated this matter on an oral board, because he or she will never get a free trial. It's biased already. It's tainted because they already know what they want to do. My meeting didn't even last more than like an hour. They already knew what they were going to do. I already felt it that I was going to get let go from my job. And for me to get let go of my job and a previous officer that did 10 times worse than I did, which is untruthfulness to the fullest, be a gang member and let them know police rates for that person not to get let go and for me to get let go, that should already show favoritism within the Savannah Police Department. And that's not fair. Because I feel like this entire situation could have been dealt with me getting suspended for 2 to 3 weeks, no pay, and I know that I would have learned my lesson from that, and ethics training, a few courses of ethics training and things like that, and then get put on the desk after I served my suspension for a month or 2. That would have been reasonable. But for you to just terminate me for something like this, when I never lied about my job duties ever a day in my life, that hurt me a lot. It didn't only hurt me, it hurt my whole family. And it was my fault. And I understand that now. But could the situations have been handled differently during that time? Absolutely. I felt like there was a lot of clouded judgment from both sides, not just from my side. And one last thing that I would say that I do want you guys to take into account, I believe this happened August 24th, 2020. I was at the DMV. I was changing my plates. I don't remember the exact date, but the 24th is clicking in my mind, and I have the paperwork there on in my desk somewhere that I'll find if you guys ever need it. I went to the DMV to replace my plates from New York to the state of Georgia, and the supervisor that conducted my investigation was there, and he comes up to me and he says, "How are you, young man?" And I look at him and I tell him, "I'm doing fine, sir," and I walk away. Why are you coming up to me after you made me lose everything? I couldn't even get unemployment. I couldn't get anything. You coming up to me and asking me that question, sir, is like you laughing in my face. And to anybody, that's how anybody in that particular situation would feel. That was not ethical at all.
Well, it makes it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Wanted that as well.
All right. Do you know if the agency did anything in reference to that?
I'm sorry?
Do you know if the agency took any steps or in reference? Did you said you complained?
Yeah, I complained. I called in and I called the person that deals with the policing matters and human resources. I told them, and I never knew what happened after that.
Okay.
But I did report that, because that was not ethical. They say that what I did was not ethical. That's not ethical. You laughing in my face, basically. And expecting I knew he did it to get a reaction out of me, but you're not going to get a reaction out of me. At that time, I was at the lowest point in my life when it came to what I had done, to not being able to pay my bills, to having to file for bankruptcy, to losing my car, to doing all of that. I had already felt the complete ripple effect. So for you to try to break me even more, that's not professional. You don't do that to somebody, and you're a supervisor at that. Just take a look in the news at all the corruption that's going on in the East Precinct. You guys will know. Well,
and we do investigate the best we can by the way the law allows us. We do investigate any officer that's reported to us that is doing something that they shouldn't be doing. Again, we're kind of restricted by how we initiate investigations by statute. Kind of like the FBI and GBI, there's certain doors that have to open before we can walk through them to initiate investigations. But I assure you, anytime that door is opened and it's reported to us that an officer is acting in an unethical or illegal way, we fully vet that officer to determine if any criminal charges need to be filed and or they need to lose their certification or authority. I appreciate you talking with me today, taking time out of your day to speak with me. I've made lots of notes as we've talked today, and I cannot tell you when I'll get everything written up and turned in, but hopefully within the next couple of weeks I'll get your case written up, turned in, and then it'll start making its way through those processes of going through PCC and then also going to councils. But like I said, what I want you to remember to do is when we get off the phone, go through the process of resetting your username and password and get logged into the Post Data Gateway and ensure that you update your contact information, because once PCC makes that decision and they send you that letter, I don't want you to miss getting that letter, so that if you do need to appeal any decision that council has made, you do so during the allotted time and you don't miss that opportunity.
Are you still recording so I can say one last thing?
Sure, absolutely.
To the council, every member on the council, however member there are, thank you guys for just taking the time out of your day to look at this case. I'm humble to say, whatever decision you guys decide to make, I'm okay with it. I thank you guys for your service and your dedication to this job, to fighting corruption. And I'm sorry for the part that I played in this entire situation. And you guys can never find the heart and the ethical approach to this situation to give me a second chance at serving the good citizens of Georgia one day again, I would highly appreciate it. And I thank you guys, and God bless you and your families.
Now, with that said, I do want to tell you this. While I do not know what decision council will make in your case, yes, let's just say it's a worst case scenario situation and they decide to revoke your certification. I do not want you to think that you're dead in the water based on that decision. And what I mean by that is, in the event that council revokes an officer certification, 2 years from the date of that revocation, there's a process that you can go through to have your certification reinstated. There's an application that you fill out. You have a hearing. You present evidence to show why it is you believe your certification should be reinstated, and many officers get their certification reinstated after that 2 year time frame. And in some cases, what occurs is, particularly if somebody like in your case, if you just had an moment, it's an isolated incident. While it may be too new from the time they hear your case initially for them to say we're going to give you the benefit of the doubt, after that 2 year window, they may say, okay, this guy has behaved for 2 years, he's not had any problems, and we're going to give him another chance and we're going to reinstate his certification. So sometimes that's what takes place. So like I said, even if it is a worst case scenario where they vote to revoke your certification, hold your head high and don't think that you're done, that you may still be afforded an opportunity to get that certification reinstated at a later date. Again,
I'm okay with any decision they make, okay, to be honest with you, Investigator William. Listen, if this is what God has for me, He's going to give it to me.
Sure.
If this is not what I'm meant to do anymore, this is not what I'm meant to do anymore. I'm okay with it. If this is not what I'm meant to do anymore, this is not what I'm meant to do anymore. I'm okay with it. Everybody has a job to do. I can't keep putting myself back in that situation, because there would have been 100 different things I would have done. It's done already. I can't go back and change it. If I had a time machine, I would do it.
Sure. Well, but like I said, and God may be directing you to do one thing right now, but in 2 years, God may say, I want you to do this again. And so I want to make sure you understand that if He does call you back into this profession in 2 years, if He's steering you away from it right now, I just want you to know that there is always an opportunity out there, possibly in the future, to get it reinstated. If, like I said, and I don't know that they're going to take it from you, but if by chance they do.
Impersonating an officer? Well, I've never dreamed of such a thing.
It's hard. I've gotten so many no's from any police department that I speak with or that I apply for. It's very difficult.
Well, but now once this investigation is done, I will tell you, through a background investigation, and untruthfulness is going to hurt you, an allegation of untruthfulness is going to hurt you. But I will tell you that right now, all across the country, agencies are struggling to hire employees, and so because we need officers, and there's such a shortage of them. So don't give up. If this is what God is calling you to do, continue to apply and continue to try to get yourself employed. If this is what God's calling you to do, and just be obedient. And look here, we never know what God has planned for us. We may think we have, and we may try to guess it, but we just don't know what His plan is for us. But ultimately, He'll work that out in His time.
Yes, sir.
But I wanted to thank you again for talking with me. You've got my contact information. If you have any questions or any way I can help you in the future, please do not hesitate to give me a call, and I'll try to do anything I can for you. But unless you have anything else to add, the time is 10:54 a.m. and I will end the interview. Do you have any other questions or anything about the whole process before I let you go?
I'm good, boss.
All right. Hey, thank you again for talking with me. I know I kind of caught you off guard, but thank you again for calling me. And I really do mean that. If you ever need anything, please don't hesitate to give me a call, and I'll help you in what I can.
Yes, sir.
All right. You take care, sir. Good luck with everything.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.